Hello and welcome to this test video. We're going to show you how to connect the tracker database to Excel. The key issue is that you need some reporting. You can either build or prototype it in Excel and you'll connect to the database. In the tracker admin we have the database connection and you just read the database and the server from those two fields. You've got those, you're ready to enter them into Excel. You go to the Data from External Sources tab. In the top line, you're going to enter your database server. In my case, it's // being my local machine, SQL Express. Go ahead and enter that there. You're going to type the next button, and that's going to lead you to the tables. You notice on my system we're using the Windows authentication. If you were using the SQL authentication, that would have shown up in the tracker admin. You'd have to grab it from here. We go down, select the database here. Again, you've read that from your tracker admin. Now the tables you'd like to use come up here, and we have both tables and views, slightly different things. The great thing about this method is it does allow you to experiment, and in our particular case we're looking for the data table. A little bit lower, go grab that table, click next, and it should give you after a couple prompts, the actual data from that table. And it's asking you if you'd like to remember that in your database, overwrite the one I had done previously, and now it asks you where you'd like it anchored. We just choose the default A1, and it builds an Excel table. This table structure is really important. We're going to use the advantages of the Excel tables throughout the process. We'll use that in the process of a VLOOKUP, and that's going to be the next major portion of this demo. We're going to grab the project table, so we'll have the data table and the project table, and then we'll use a VLOOKUP to link those two tables together. We're going to actually add a couple columns. Here we're just going through the same process to grab that table, and referencing it's pretty straightforward. In fact, we're going to exactly the same database. If you choose to, you could of course grab it from a different database, and then you could use this type of method to compare two databases. And it's going to take us just a second here to get to that table. And the important thing to note here is we have this common key between the two tables, and we're going to use table-based techniques and the VLOOKUP function to add a couple columns to our data table. In our case, we'd like to add project name and project path into our data table. Again, it's a bit of a made-up example, but you can see how it is useful. So I do like to rename my worksheets. I've made a working copy here. That way, if I happen to make a mistake, I don't destroy my original data and have to redo the import. The first thing we're going to do in this process is add a couple columns just to the right of our key, and we're going to again be referencing that unique key for our lookup value. So we'll go ahead and add those two columns. And we'll name those columns. And again, it's very important to note that as we build these formulas, we are using the table referenced formulas. The advantage of that is when we do a data refresh, it will automatically refresh the data in those tables. So this way we get essentially auto updating reports. Very, very useful tool. We'll go ahead, grab the VLOOKUP function here. It asks the first item what cell contains our reference value. We put that in, and as you notice, it's got a table referenced structure there, and we're referencing the entire table. So this formula will automatically copy down through that entire table. Now it's asking us for our lookup range. That again, we start with our key in the first column of that range. We've added two columns. So that will be in fact the second and third column that we're going to fill in. By using the table ranges, again, if that table gets longer or shorter, it'll automatically adjust in the formulas. We're going to tell it that we want to use the second column here, and that will be project name. and we go on and we tell it we would like an exact match, and we'll close our parenthesis. And then when we go back to our original worksheet, we see that the entire column has been filled out with that formula repeated. Due to the way that the table values work, it knows the entire range of that table, so we don't have to do any copy-paste functions. We'll go ahead and grab the third entry that we've selected in our range, so we just copy the formula. One tiny change to make, change the 2 to a 3. It maintains all our references for us based on the table, so nothing about locking formulas or the $ in our formulas. Very convenient. We've finished the entire process now, and it's copied that down over the entire range of our table. And again, we're using VLOOKUP, so the values are appropriate based upon our unique key. As I mentioned before, now if we go hit the refresh data button, if the data in our database has changed, it'll update any of that data necessary. Technique I like to use is I'd go ahead and leave the table in there, clear the contents of the table, hit refresh, and it will grab all that data again. So it's a very, very powerful technique for building updated, self-updating reports. You just go out and hit refresh and you're done. So again, I'd really think about why you're using Excel if you're going to be building reports there. If it's a single ad hoc report, the web UI is better. If you need to automate a task report, is probably better. Or if you found something that you can't quite build with the UI, the Excel method's a way to do that. Curiosity generally is a good thing. The beauty of this method is you don't actually alter the database. Again, by using those tables, you can get single